Hello and welcome to episode 124 of PubShorts titled Spirits in the Material World. We find ourselves in the material world. I find myself in the material world. And my name is, the material me, is called KK and I am the innovation officer. So, Tony, do you also belong to the material world?
I hope so. There's enough of me to know I'm definitely not immaterial. Hello, everyone. I'm Tony O'Rourke. Welcome to PubShorts. I'm Vice President for Partnerships here at Inago. And this is PubShorts, which is a podcast which KK and I record at least a couple of times a week, I suppose now, where we talk about stories relating to the world of academic publishing, whether it's research policy, funding, etc. And we like to give each episode a theme, and that theme, the name of the theme is always around a British pop or rock song. And today's episode is called Spirits in the Material World, which is obviously named after the song by the Police from the early 80s. And the song's clash between belief, power, and a messy real world fits this week's stories perfectly. You know, evidence trying to guide policy, science battling misinformation, and global research networks quietly shaping how the world actually works. So there are secretly ghosts operating in the machine, which we are hoping to discuss.
Yeah, and Tony, are you sure that you haven't been a journalist in the past because your summaries are so elegant and eloquent?
Yes, well, I can read.
All right, we can read too, and that's why we are switching to, and we hope that you can also read. So we're switching to the first story. This is from Springer Nature, titled "A New Global Analysis of Over 12 Million Documents Reveals How Academic Research Shapes Sustainable Development Policy." Interesting, SDG, Sustainable Development and Growth. So this, obviously, 12 million documents, a large data set. It is the first study, Tony, to looking at how academic research influences policy in the SDG, Sustainable Development Goals framework. The analysis covers policy documents from around the world published between 2015 and 2025. And the research suggests that SDG related policy documents cite academic research more than non-SDG policies, which is not surprising, but I would love to know your thoughts. This shows a link between science and action on global issues like health and climate. And this study also highlights that open access articles are cited in policy about a year sooner than non-open access ones, and concise research formats like reviews, letters, and news articles are frequently cited in policy. So I'll pause here. Any thoughts on any of the three sort of highlights of the survey so far?
Not particularly. I'm not surprised that research policy is actually supported by the actual research itself, as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling still to see some of the real world outcomes, but I think we're going to start to see that quite soon. But no great surprises so far.
Yeah, I mean, it is not surprising at all in the sense that open access articles are cited faster, as well as more research articles are cited for SDG related policies. But what
that's the interesting. Sorry to interrupt you, Keke. Yeah. That's the interesting thing, maybe around why should an open access article be cited any more quickly than a non-open access article? Okay, perhaps it's because it's accessible by more researchers, and therefore the likelihood of citation is quicker.
And also many articles become open access after an embargo period, right? So by the time they come around in terms of being open access through the traditional hybrid access publishing infra, but whatever, what am I trying to say? Yeah, anyway, in that case, they are available to especially the third world or the global south, if you want to call it, researchers later. That's probably why.
I suppose I hadn't considered that. Yes, of course.
But my sort of thought on the last point that I said, that shorter format articles are cited faster or more. Now that is concerning, because in the sense that does that indicate that the researcher attention span and correlated to policy?
No, that's nothing new. If you look at, I can only talk about my own experience, but I've worked for organisations that publish short communication journals, for example, letters journals, and typically they have a higher impact factor, a higher citation score than the longer articles, maybe with the exception of big review article journals. Right. No, I think that's fairly standard for that type of content.
Right. My only concern is that if suppose you're citing documents, academic research, and policies, you need to be thorough, and such thorough research often comes in
Oh, I
longer
see.
format.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
longer
Well,
formats.
yes, you need to support
Yeah.
your findings somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is something that I will probably monitor when I see any policy related article or policy. So to see if I also find some things like that. So anyway, the significant finding is that 78% of research cited in SDG policy involves authors from the global north. Countries in the global south rarely cite their own domestic research in national policy, with exceptions in India and Brazil. And the report offers recommendations for researchers, publishers, and institutions to improve the use of evidence in policy. Very good. And key actions include expanding open access, which is what I think for over the last maybe 5 years or so, include, for example, the one nation, one subscription policy, which I guess it's not open access, but at the same time, it's a hybrid sort of a deal. Prioritizing policy ready content and fostering partnership. So I really like most of the stuff, except the fact that obviously the preponderance of global north research being cited, as well as I would like, as I mentioned earlier, a longer form research to also be cited. At least that's
Isn't
the
it?
good.
Yeah, but I suppose that whole global north, global south thing isn't. It doesn't it also reflect it's the geographic split of where the all content is coming from
Yes,
anyway.
yes, yes.
And that the global south is catching up.
Yeah, it is. Let's say in 10 years, maybe there's another follow-up survey.
Yeah,
I hope things are reversed. So
yeah.
we move on to another a very happy anniversary, 10-year anniversary for the credit taxonomy. We have a comment in Nature titled "A 10-year drive to credit authors for their work and why there's still more to do." So this is obviously related to contributor role taxonomy. It is a sort of a, I guess, taxonomy developed a decade ago to clarify author contributions. So, credit, for those who are not aware, lists 14 types of contributions in research papers. And the goal of credit was to reduce questionable authorship and show the diversity of contributions. And adoption of credit has grown significantly, appearing in approximately 850,000 publications so far, which is great. But there's a lot of
It's a long way to go when you
yeah.
consider so 4 million articles published every year alone.
Yes. Now, there are some sort of problems as well, or issues that need to be sorted with credit. Unclear authorship and practices like honorary or ghost authors are still common, and there is obviously an increase or the increased frequency of misconduct-related issues and retractions, and all of these indicate the need for taxonomy. So, if credit is already a great sort of framework, but it needs to be more widely implemented and also needs to be promoted. Researchers need to be educated about it. And credit data can also inform policies, identify expertise, and support research assessments. For example, the San Francisco Declaration of Research Assessment, that is DORA, that is supported by credit. And this was launched in 2012, and credit also supports things like the Coalition of Advancing Research Assessment, COARA. So all of these are supported. Yet the challenges include the updating of taxonomy for new fields and technologies, and stable funding for maintaining infrastructure, and consistent implementation by publishers. So a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders need to work together. And so what are the 3 steps that the comment proposes are: secure funding for credit governance, improve publisher and indexer integration, and build evidence of the value of such a credit taxonomy. I mean, a lot of, I guess, the right points hit. But my question to you, Tony, having 40 years of experience, I suppose, in this field. Okay, whatever, 30 years of experience, it doesn't
No,
matter.
no, 40's good enough. I'm still in my 20s.
All right. So my question is, why does the academic publishing industry struggle to get funding for such infrastructure, and as well as for governance, as the article points out?
Well, I don't know if it's about struggling for infrastructure. Okay, if you think about, there are, I don't know how many thousands of publishers in the world. Okay, and you would imagine, and I would hope that the vast majority of the larger sort of publishers are applying a credit type taxonomy in their own internal systems. But to do that obviously requires funding.
Yeah.
If you're a small single journal, or you want a 2 journal society publisher, or you're probably not going to have the sort of funding available to you unless you're working with a larger publisher to make these sort of systems available. I suppose but what also my kind of challenge with credit is that it's been around for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
and congratulations for being so long lasting, is it is still not as well known as it should be. I don't see papers talking about credit. I don't see as many pieces of research where this is discussed or flagged
Mm-hmm.
as you might expect. It's an absolutely core part of the need to disambiguate authors and to understand the role of the authors in papers. Yet, I honestly can't remember the last time I saw a credit taxonomy paper or even
Interesting.
reference to it.
I mean, that's a good point in the sense that I said earlier on that many stakeholders need to play roles, and some of the roles and the responsibilities have been listed. So one of the things that I guess us talking about credit on PubShots is one step towards, I guess, more conversation around credit and why it is not being implemented
Yeah,
properly. But another angle that I have is that generally this is obviously an extension of the authorship. The concept of authorship as per ICMJ guidelines, for example, but it is also part of the disclosures and statements that a research article or any piece of document needs to have. For example, in this article, the authors have used credit taxonomy to sort of indicate what their roles were. And so
yeah,
this is a
yeah.
very good example of how how it should be used. But the stress on such, I guess, transparencies and disclosures are I mean, the stress has not been as high as it should be, in my opinion, and especially with the increase in AI assistance, there is even more of a role for things like credit, especially in sort of clarifying what the role of the human author was and what the role of an AI tool that they may have used in assisting with creating their research content. Your
So
thoughts on?
if
Yeah,
you're an author, KK, and you're submitting a paper to a leading medical journal, let's say,
yeah.
why is it important that you tell the publisher? First of all, obviously it goes out saying you need to list all the authors that are involved in the paper.
Yeah.
But why is it important that the roles of those authors should be flagged? What would you say is the main benefit for them?
I think it is primarily for the reader to understand, and a reader as well as the future reader researcher to replicate. When they're trying to replicate it, they are clear as to who. For example, let's say Tony, you and I participate in research, and let's say somebody else, a colleague, wanted to replicate the research. Then, if suppose you were in charge of methodology and the statistical rigor, then they can get in touch with you, or they can follow your research. So that's sort of a that's a reason why in my opinion, this is very important. But also for generally transparency, because you need to build trust in science, and any published research needs to be sort of transparent enough in terms of the roles that the different authors played and the way that they did things, because it has to be collaborative, and all the authors in the author byline need to have contributed in a meaningful way to justify authorship, which also gets rid of things like ghost authorship and guest authorship and stuff like that. These are all
Yeah,
research
yeah.
integrity flags. So many reasons, but these are some of the things that I can think of. Now, the new thing that I indicated is also that AI, no matter what AI it is, at least in late 2025 or end of 2025, AI cannot be listed as an author, and credit taxonomy is reserved for individuals who can be listed as authors. So from that point of view, the AI assistance disclosure is sort of dovetailing with the credit taxonomy or the transparency in terms of authorship, and that is the next big thing that I predict happening, at least in the next year or so, when more publishers, more journals would want authors to disclose the way that they have used AI and why they used, or what they used AI in the context
Okay,
of research.
listeners, you've heard KK's prediction. Let's see if that comes true.
Yeah, my crystal ball is right here, and it'll always be there, unlike Tony's. So, Tony, you can ask me maybe next year around this time whether this prediction has come true.
You'll have to remind me.
All right. So the next one is related to AI. Actually, it is a very interesting article. It's an essay published in Nature called "What is the Future of Intelligence?" The answer could lie in the story of its evolution. Interesting. So this is written by okay, I would highlight the name before.
Blaise Aguera y Arcas.
Okay, so that Blaze, I'll call. So, who's the CTO of technology and society at Google, and he used to think AI would not be intelligent. And this is obviously, I guess everybody can make out that this is an AI generated image, right? So he used to think that AI would not be intelligent, but he was wrong. large language models are surprisingly capable, and Mr. Blaze believes intelligence in both AI and biology is about scaling computation, and this scaling is driven by symbiogenesis, where entities merge to form new, more complex super entities. And this is like nature's version of Moore's law. And this process explains the evolution of life from simple cells to complex organisms and even our technological society. So, life itself, he says, is a form of general purpose computation. Now, that's a very interesting science fiction sort of a sounding term. And starting from simple self preserving mechanisms. And the last thing he says, AI is not separated from humanity, but part of a larger computational entity that we co-create. And I think what I took away from this article or this essay is that we are very much in the AI plus human, the shared sort of, I guess, responsibility space where I mean, currently, at least as of now, most things that the AI can help you with are increasing your productivity and efficiency and all of that. But you still need to be the person or the human who checks and has the oversight regarding the AI assistance. And this is especially applicable to content creation from the point of view of research, manuscripts, etc. So, your thoughts on it? Do you also agree with my sort of takeaway?
Um, no, yes, I think so. I'm not sure whether. I mean, we're talking about an extraordinarily intelligent person here. You know, he's head of what is it, computing at Google,
Yeah.
and he's got a background in neuroscience and in physics. So the guy is clearly a super brain to start with.
Right.
I think he's right in terms of the increasing influence. I hope what this article isn't leading to is kind of that evolution to the point where human guardrails are not required. Because as AI stands today, and my understanding of AI applications,
Mm-hmm.
human guardrails, as you said, are absolutely essential.
Mm-hmm.
But the question mark is for how long?
Interesting. So I see your point, and I did not think about it when I read the article. But that's also, I do not think that the article is stating what you say, what you worry it might be stating or pointing toward. I still took it as, I mean, somebody is a tech visionary sort of
Yeah,
placing ourselves in 2025 as to where
yeah,
AI. Yeah.
it's a really good article.
Right. All right. Now we go on to another opinion article guest essay on the New York Times. This is related to research integrity, and it is concerning, especially because I come from a medical background. So this is titled, I went to an anti-vaccine conference. Medicine
Mm,
is in trouble.
mm,
This is again. I still feel that articles need not be as clickbaity, even in New York Times. But anyway, so this is written by a geriatrician and a palliative care doctor, and the doctor, Rachel. Okay, Rachel Bedard attended an anti-vaccine conference hosted by Children's Health Defense, which is a anti sort of pseudoscience anti-vaccine organization. She observed a father. A father in the sort of conference, whose unvaccinated daughter died of measles, speaking at the conference. So the father spoke at the conference, and the so this father felt misrepresented by the media and distrusted his daughter's doctors, accepting explanations from CHT speakers that his daughter died of hospital-acquired pneumonia. So the main sort of point that Rachel makes is that this sort of a forum provides a sense of meaning and community for those experiencing trauma, similar to religious testimony, and organizations, such organizations offer explanations that fuse spirituality and science, identifying sinister forces and promoting purity through virtuous action. And she says, if the rest of the article, there are many other points, but she says that this is what is missing in medical practice, and this is the reason why many people are sort of migrating towards this, I guess, anti-vaxxer, pseudoscience, religious sort of a shared space. And I believe, look, I personally have not been taught, or rather we did not get training in terms of being like how to make people comfortable with the, for example, how with the diagnosis of their relatives, etc. We did not get super advanced training related to how to manage people, and that sort of an education I suspect is still lacking. And without bridging it, medicine will I guess struggle in terms of keeping up with the forces that are acting against it. Your thoughts, Tony? Do you agree with?
This kind of story saddens me. No, first of all, no child age of 9 should be dying of measles today.
Right.
The article mentions Andrew Wakefield, the doctor who was struck off in the UK for sort of trying to show the link between, there was no effect of the MMR vaccine. In fact, it was a negative effect. In fact, but he was decried and he was delisted.
Mm-hmm.
Children shouldn't be dying of this. Okay. Going back to the point that you're making around the need for empathy and spirituality
Mm-hmm.
in the treatment of medicine, yes, of course, the doctors have to be empathetic. But the whole point about medicine, surely, is that it should be agnostic.
Right.
I'm a practicing Christian. I don't expect. I wouldn't expect to only be treated, if I was ill, to be only treated by doctors who understood my own Christian background. I would expect the doctor that treats me to have an understanding of my condition and be able to diagnose me and be able to prognose what's required. Regardless of how I might feel about the drug. He or she should be thinking about what's in my best interests in order to cure me, and not necessarily my religious or spiritual stance on a particular topic. So I understand the need for medicine to evolve, but is that question? This isn't a statement; it's more a question. Is that one step too far?
No, but I think we are talking two different things. I'm not talking about the religious, spiritual leanings of the doctor. It is more to do with the highlighted statement here. So the author says that she can understand why traditional medicine, which is a secular, expert-centered, and often impersonal culture, might feel alienating from this point of view. So should we, as medical, I'm putting myself in the medical community, should medical practitioners be trying to make it more personal so that people do not feel as alienated, and hence their own kids can
I would rather be treated by an expert I don't like than an idiot who I think is great. If you take that sentence, I can understand why traditional medicine, a secular, expert-centered, often personal culture, might feel alienating. Well, okay, I might understand that,
Mm-hmm.
but I would still prefer a secular, expert-centered, impersonal culture to treat me if that's the best way of making me better for my ailments.
Interesting perspective. I would not have thought of. I mean, I guess this is the reason why we both
Yeah,
talk about the same thing. Excellent.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
we're all different.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the next one. This is
Actually, no. That's
yeah.
something I will say. However, I mean,
Yeah.
sorry. Before we move on to the next story, I know in India, for example, and I have a small amount of experience with this from people I've dealt with in the past, that there is more spirituality in terms of treatment. You can opt to go for a particular type of treatment with a spiritual focus than you would in Europe. It's very unusual to find that in Europe. But I know in India, you can go to centres that might have more spirituality involved, included in the treatment.
Interesting. So that's true. But this is just to sort of how can medicine protect itself, or have an armor to protect itself from pseudoscience. That's the way that I approach it. All right, moving on to three related stories related to China and research, which is not surprising at all in terms of some of the content. But anyway, so the first one is a World View article published in Nature titled "Why the World Must Wake Up to China's Science Leadership." So the author argues that the world needs to pay more attention to China's growing leadership in science and technology. He feels that we've been behind the curve on this for many years, and some of the statements, I mean, some of the sort of evidence that he cites is that China's government has officially stated its focus on high quality development, driven by innovation, emphasizing self-reliance in science and technology. China is backing it up with significant investment. R&D spending has increased dramatically, and it is approaching United States levels. And they also have a huge pool of talent, China that is. And China produces millions of STEM graduates, STEM graduates annually, including many PhDs, and its top universities are globally recognized. And finally, historically, China's growth came from labor. Now it's expected that young scientists will be the main drivers of progress. An example of this is the development of DeepSeek, an AI application created by a Chinese company showing their capability in AI. So this is just a prelude to a couple of other stories. Tony, any thoughts on this particular story? But considering that we have businesses,
I am not surprised, particularly in the last 2 years. But certainly, some of the de-emphasis on research in the US, for example, and some of the deprioritization from research in the US in recent years, I see is only going to accelerate this drive from China further and push them even further into the lead.
All right. So moving on to, I guess, two related stories. Research information story first. China reshaping Global Research Network. So this is
Yeah,
a new. This
yeah,
is a press release based on a new report from Clarivate's Institute of
yeah,
Scientific Information (ISI), which
yeah,
examines
yeah.
how global research collaboration is changing. Geopolitical tensions, pandemic disruptions, and national investments are driving these shifts. And China is now leading in research output and increasing international collaborations. The USA's research output and global collaboration share is declining. So we have talked about some of this before. The report uses data from the Web of Science core collection and insights, and key trends include the rise of multilateral partnerships, China's growing influence, and challenges for the United States. Universities, funders, and policymakers can use this report, as per the press release, to navigate the evolving research landscape, and global collaboration is expanding with multilateral partnerships driving much of it. Now, a couple of points. Okay, the emerging economies like India are increasing their international co authorship. Europe, for example, particularly Germany and the UK, maintain strong international research ties. China's collaborations in Asia Pacific, Africa, and Middle East are growing faster than regional averages. So, I'll pause here because there are so many other things to talk about. Any other missing points or any other thoughts on this report?
No, no, I actually read the Clarivate report yesterday
Yeah,
when it was first announced. And it all makes absolute sense. You know, the fact that so there's been such a huge investment program, such an active investment program in China, and yet, and then, you know, and at the same time, some of as the pace of strategic challenges facing the US,
right.
you know, I understand why China's driving ahead.
Right, and this is a report that you, Tony, are referring to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought I'll share this. So the links to these report, I mean, this story as well as the report would be present in the show notes, in the sense, on YouTube at least, so you can find that out and read it for yourself. The one thing that I was not aware of, EU27, which is a group of, or economic and political union of 27 EU countries, and there is some specific details regarding that in the research information report, the EU27. Interesting stuff. So I'll move on to quick hits if you give me permission, Tony.
Make it so.
All right. Okay. First, it is a retraction watch story titled Springer Nature flags paper with fabricated reference to an article not in parentheses written by our co-founder, that is Retraction Watch's co-founder. So this is obviously a paper flagged in the journal DARU. Wait, I'm just, yeah, Daru Journal of Pharmaceutical Sciences, for containing numerous fabricated references, including one falsely attributed to a Retraction Watch co-founder, Ivan Oransky. This incident, occurring amidst a rise in paper citing fake references, possibly linked to AI, highlights issues with scientific integrity and publication practices. So the paper itself criticized post-publication peer review platforms, which is the ironic thing, while its own references were found to be inaccurate or non-existent, with some pointing to retracted articles or incorrect DOI. So I'm sure, Tony, you have had conversations with publishers, many, in fact, to sort of deal with the problem of fabricated or hallucinated references, right? What are publishers worried about, and what do they want in terms of technology to support?
Publishers are worried about two things. They are worried about submissions that they receive today from authors that may be fraudulent, that
Mm-hmm.
may be false, that may be created by paper mills, and they want to have systems in place that will detect those papers quickly and easily and just get rid of them as quickly as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and put measures in place to make sure those particular content creators are cease their actions. But they're also concerned about their historical
Mm-hmm.
content. You know, how much of their historical content that may have slipped through the net
Right.
has been generated in the same way. So it is a concern, and you know, and there's an eagerness to sort of to clean up the process quickly.
Right, and some of the solutions that we have developed as part of the Inago report suite also addresses some of these things, right, in terms of reference
Yeah,
quality. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, for example, I know I was talking to a publisher only yesterday, for example, about some of their use cases, and it's very absolutely clear that the one of the biggest use cases for them was around identifying retracted papers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they didn't have a workflow particularly in place, which where they could quickly identify which papers have been retracted, which ones haven't.
Right.
You know, and so now they're looking to license Inago reports as a means of one of the things I want to do is then highlight the retracted papers that may be being submitted.
Right. So if a publisher is watching this conversation, Tony, where can they find more about the Inago reports, features, and suite, and how we can offer services for them?
Well, we're updating the website at the moment, so I'd say the best thing would be today in mid December, early December 2025, is to contact me directly at tonyo@inago.com, and I'll be able to give them a breakdown of the sort of checks that are available.
Excellent. And the last story that we have is from STM Publishing News. Open Science Conference 2025, Open Air, Open AIRE showcases AI-driven innovation for transparent and reproducible research.
Yeah.
So it was a conference in Hamburg, which featured OpenAI's new showcase of AI's transformative potential in research, emphasizing transparency, accessibility, reproducibility, and reusability. Through posters and live demonstrations. So the things that I was not aware of are OpenAI Graph. This uses AI to link research data and improve quality. And there are other things I forget. EOSCEU Node, which shows which is it? It how it supports open science principles for researchers, and there are many other things. So interesting, sort of. I mean, I learned a lot from this. I don't know if did you happen to know this before before we discussed this article?
I've heard of Open Air before, but it's
Uh,
the first time I've seen any notes on any of their conferences.
Right, right. So, interesting stuff. Open science movement is, I think, getting stronger as the days, as the years flow past us. And anyway, so that,
As we would hope, as we
yeah,
would hope.
yes, yes.
I
Uh,
mean, there is a key. The key, one of the if you're going to use AI in science, the use of AI needs to be transparent and it needs to be explainable.
right.
And I think one of the things that's missing, and we've been talking about this in our responsible AI movement, is the need to train researchers to use AI tools responsibly.
Right. And where can people find anybody interested, a researcher who might be listening in or watching, where can
Uh,
they find about responsible AI?
they can just go to the Unigo website and just search for responsible AI movements, and they'll find a link describing the various actions and activities that are underway here.
Excellent. So that brings us to the end of episode 124, Spirits in the Material World. And so this must mean that we have had 123 episodes before. And Tony will explain how you can find and listen to all of the 123 episodes if you wish to.
I'm still struggling to believe we've actually recorded 123 episodes already. This is 124. This is incredible. So yes, all 124, and I repeat, 124 episodes are available on our on the PubShorts playlist over on YouTube. Just search for Inago PubShorts, and you'll get all 123 episodes in there. One of these days, we will create an index of all the episodes, so you can find out if you want to go to a particular episode and hear what we said about that 6 months ago. Then do that. Yes, but we encourage you to like the playlist and like the videos, leave comments, share them with your colleagues, as those ideas really help feed us in terms of the sort of topics we need to be talking about in future.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony, for letting people know, and we are thankful. We are grateful for their listenership, audience viewership, and we will be back with episode 125 very shortly. And on behalf of the rest of the team that helps Tony and I to bring such content to you, this is Dr. Kiki signing off. We will see you in the next one. Bye, Tony.
See you in the next one.